it look like? The word of the day is derecho in Spanish, but all the weather people call it a derecho. Our chief meteorologist Bill Dawes just shared this cool radar image of the storm as it blew and built towards Chicago. Very cool to see. But there was a lot of damage as a result to be cleaned up this morning. Take a look at the trees that were down all over the old neighborhood on the north side. That's just one location. And just a few miles away is Michelle Fiore. She's in Rogers Park, where there are reports of a possible tornado that could have touched down there yesterday. Michelle.
Yeah, Sylvia, we got confirmation, and the people here who live in Rogers Park certainly suspected that it was a tornado. Just look at the damages that they saw when they got outside after that storm, after many people, of course, had heard the sirens and the warnings going off on their phones, hid in the basements, and then came out to this devastation. This tree uprooted right here. Take a look behind me. It just completely devastated this fence. It's a wrought iron fence and nearly hitting the house over here. So these people, unlucky to lose a tree, but certainly lucky that it didn't actually permeate into the house here as well. But all up and down this street, we're on Fargo Avenue. It's just by Sheridan Road. It is completely devastated, one by one, trees that are large and beautiful, many ash trees that survived the emerald ash borer. They did not survive the storm of August the 10th. A lot of cars on this block as well, sadly, got damages. Windows we've seen shattered from them, rooftops of the cars damaged as well. And this is the block. It is just west of Sheridan Road. We also noticed a lot of damages east of Sheridan Road on Fargo Avenue as well. People coming out here just can't believe what they're seeing today. Again, I mean, you don't see tornadoes in Chicago very often, so this is definitely a spectacle. A lot of people are taking pictures out here to just kind of remember it all out here today. Reporting live in Rogers Park, I'm Michelle Fiore. Back to you, Sylvia.
All right, thanks so much, Michelle. Well, it is another gorgeous day outside. Got kind of hot and humid yesterday, and then the storms came, and not so bad right now. What do we expect for the rest of the day, Miss Caitlin?
It's going to be so much nicer today. Sunshine, cooler temperatures, lower humidity, and really that's the thing that's going to make a huge difference. A cold front is moving through our viewing area, and a northwest wind is going to pick up today around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Now, maybe a gust or two at 20 miles per hour, but high pressure is returning as it does move on in. We have a couple quiet days ahead, and today we're going to be about 5 degrees cooler than we were yesterday, only reaching around 84 or 85 degrees as our high. So it is beautiful this morning. We already have sunshine, no rain in the forecast today. Temperatures ranging in the 70s from 74 degrees at O'Hare to Midway, 73 at Moni, and good morning Hammond, 70 degrees for you. Northwest Indiana, I do want to remind you with that wind coming in out of the northwest.
Zoom. Okay. Yeah. So let's see. Let me see right here. So Tracy, you want to get us going? I'm going to fix the view here.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and get started, and like Paula said, is that we'll go ahead and record this so that we can send it to those. I think we had nearly 40 that have registered, so obviously we're missing quite a few. So we'll see if they pop on as we start here. So just a little housekeeping. Just make sure that if you're outside or if there's noise in your background that you're on mute. Paula does have the capabilities of putting everyone on mute, but we do want to kind of keep it open. So when we do have the presentation going, that you're able to ask questions so it can be interactive as Maren is speaking to you. So just be aware that if you have noise in the background, to please go on mute. There's also a chat box. If all of you could find the chat box at the bottom. So if you do have questions or later on you'd like to bring something up and don't want to forget, feel free to put a question in that chat box or even a comment, and then we can address it as we're going on, just so that we don't have to interrupt someone that may be speaking. And I think that's about it for housekeeping.
Yes, and we will make the recording available somewhere. I'm not sure where yet.
Okay, that sounds good. So I just want to thank everyone for joining us this morning. And I know several of you are just getting through the storm and have just gotten power on. And we do have a few other members that are still without power. So Maybe they would join us and maybe not. So thank you to all of you that have joined us so far. My name is Tracy Raymer. I am the president of the Illinois Limousine and Bus Association. I also sit on the executive board for the National Limousine Association as second vice president. And at this time, I know not all of our directors are on the call right now, but I would like to introduce the ILLBA Board of Directors. We have our Vice President, Art Rento from Pontarelli. We have our Treasurer, Ron Hoy, who is on the call with us from Cary. We have our Secretary, as well as our Executive Director, Paula DiBiase from Chicago Coachworks. And our directors are Beth Cox of Cox Livery, who's not able to join us due to power outage. We have Scott Delheimer of Class Act Limousine. We have Brian Sheely of Epic Limousine. We have Chris Weiss of Chauffeur Driven. And we also have Chris Norlin of Nationwide Bus Sales. And towards the end of the meeting, Chris Norlin is going to raffle off 2 $25 gift cards. So everyone that is on the meeting, he'll be jotting down each of your names, and he will have his son pull 2 names for a $25 gift card. And I'm sure he will make sure that he sends those to you. So good luck to everyone on that.
Thank you, Chris.
So for today's agenda, first we're going to start off and we're going to talk about digital marketing during COVID. And hopefully you've all had plenty of time, and I'm sure you're working on some of your marketing, working on your websites or revamping your websites. So we'll be talking about digital marketing and hoping that you can take away a few ideas on how to retain your current customers as well as gain customers. And following that discussion is we're going to open it up for a roundtable discussion. So if you do have any questions that you would like to discuss as a group and just share ideas back and forth, like I said, you can write those questions in the chat box or bring them up during that roundtable discussion. For each one of those questions, we'll take about 3 to 5 minutes to discuss each one of them, you know, maybe 7 minutes, depending on the topic. If there is a question that has a lot of interaction and we just don't want to use one question to take up the entire meeting. So we can easily take that question and have another meeting a week from now or 2 weeks from now, which would give us the time to either research more information and then we could carry on with another meeting during that time. So like I said, we'll spend like 5 to 7 minutes on each of the questions. So if you have any, write them down, put them in the chat box, and then we'll talk about that. So at this time, I would like to introduce our speaker, who is Maren Graham. Maren is of MJ Graham Visual Solutions, and she has over 2 decades of experience in the transportation industry, helping companies build and maintain their brand presence through various mediums, including websites, digital marketing, and social media. So without further ado, here's Maren.
Thanks, Tracy. Well, I would like to thank Tracy and Paula for inviting me to be here today. Some of you actually may have heard me speak at the ILLBA meeting last year in May. At the time, I was with Hudson Software, but as Tracy just said, I am now running my own digital marketing firm, and I work with companies both inside and outside of transportation. So when Paula reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and asked me if I wanted to lead this discussion, in my head, my initial thought was no. Absolutely not. A lot of companies in this space have pulled back their marketing significantly, in some cases completely stopped programs. And so I thought, well, maybe now is not the right time to do this. And then honestly, I began thinking about it carefully and realized this is actually the perfect time. It's the perfect time because the reality is life is marching forward. It just is. And you need to be thinking about not only how are you going to survive this, but how you're going to stay relevant to your audience, to your customers, to your products, and to your prospects. And so while it might seem it's the best solution to pull way back on your marketing and your marketing spend and your advertising, I'd actually counter that and say this is the best time to be doing it. It makes sense to do it. That doesn't necessarily mean, though, that you have to tap into your cash reserves and deplete a lot of your financial resources to do it. There are a lot of things you can do today for low to no cost. And we're going to talk about some of those in just a few moments. Now, obviously, anything that you do is going to require some work. If you're going to start any campaign, whether that's social, email, working on your website, there's going to be a time investment on your part. If you've cut staff, and I know many businesses have, or you simply can't hire people back full time, consider outsourcing. You can hire people like me. You can hire people like Art. You can hire people like Bill. You can hire a lot of people that are readily available for a fraction of the cost of an FTE. You can also look to bring back one of your own resources that you may have furloughed that expressed a strong interest in marketing and work with them and train them on how to do some of these things. There are a lot of things that you can do that do not require a lot of technical savvy to be able to stay relevant and market your business. When I say relevant, what I'm really talking about is how you're adapting your business to the changing marketplace. We know that traditional channels are plummeting. The demand's not there. People aren't traveling. They're not going to the airports. There's not going to be big events. There's not conventions. So what are you going to do to generate demand elsewhere? You have to come up with something. And if you haven't adapted your business plan yet to support that, you ought to. That should be your very first step. How can you make your operation adapt and fit the needs of the changing marketplace? We don't know how long this is going to last. And I'm guessing it's going to be into 2021 before we start seeing a real recovery. You have to find a way to bring in new revenue. You have to. One of the best ways to do that is to tap your existing customers. I know that it may seem like, well, how is that going to work? But they're your best selling channel. They really are. They're your biggest asset. And if you're not communicating to them, you ought to be. And you should be reaching out to them at least once a month, whether that's through email, through phone calls, through social media. You need to be reaching out to them on a regular basis. And I'm not saying like push messages at them constantly of 50% off this or 15% off this. It's not a lot about the direct sale right now as much as it is about the communication with them and the constant engagement with them. You have to keep that conversation going. If you don't, they're going to forget about you. One of the things that you could do if you're trying to figure out how you might evolve your business is to ask your customers. You could simply ask them, send them a survey. What are the types of things that they might need? And there are lots of ways to do surveys for little to no cost. Most email list service providers offer built-in survey capabilities right now. SurveyMonkey is free. You can literally send surveys from out of SurveyMonkey to your distribution list, your email list for free. You could put up a social media poll and poll people for ideas of how they think you might be able. If you come up with an idea you want to see if it's something that would have a good response, put it out there. See how many people might be interested in it. You could proactively put something on your website, a couple different service offerings with messaging and maybe something around it, and determine, okay, I put it out there, how many people are clicking on it as opposed to other areas of the site to see if it's generating interest. Other ways that you can try to figure out how you might adapt your business is you should be collaborating with each other. Tracy talked about that just a few minutes ago. This is a great source to exchange ideas. Yes, you're competitors, but you're all still in the same space and you're all still trying to survive this. If one company has a great idea, it might work for another company in a different community. Share those ideas and exchange those ideas with each other. But no matter what you do, you have to have a plan that accounts for a new stream of revenue. You have to find a way to adapt that business. If you don't, the harsh reality is you may not survive because you probably can't wait till 2021 for things to get back to normal, whatever that looks like. One of the ways that you can do that is to try to look at challenges that certain businesses, communities are facing. So a good example for that would be school districts. You're thinking, well, I'm not a school bus company. That's true, but you probably provide team transportation or field trip transportation. You've probably helped move them and different groups of them in the past. My district has a problem. We were hoping to go do the hybrid plan, go back to school in 50. We are now all remote. One of the leading reasons for that is transportation. The school bus service in our community could not provide enough school buses to allow for 50% capacity and get the kids to school at a reasonable time. Plus, we have multiple schools using the same bus company. There was just no way to make it work. So I'm thinking to myself, if I were a transportation company, I would be picking up the phone, not to sell my services to the school district, but to offer how I can help by providing extra transportation as a stopgap to help support the school district, to help support the bus company that's there to help get those kids to school safely. You don't have to do a hard sell on your services. Your bus, your vehicles with branding on them will be there picking kids up and dropping kids off safely every single day. That's all the sell they need. And what people will remember is how your company helped during a time of crisis. Your company stepped in and helped make that end meet. This is a really good way from a PR and marketing standpoint. Find ways in which you can help out the community. Look at this problem and find a solution. Another thought would be commuter shuttles and employee transportation. I've talked to a number of companies about this, and I've heard the same thing of, well, nobody's really going back to the office till 2021. That might be true, but companies today are making plans today for what they're going to be doing 3 or 4 months from now. If you wait 3 or 4 months from now to start reaching out to companies, buildings, corporate accounts, and whatnot to try to sell commuter transportation or safe options, you will probably miss that boat, because they are coming up with solutions now of how to get their employees back to work safely for when it's time. As you're thinking about evolving your business offerings, one thing I do want to just take a moment to pause on is I've talked to a number of companies who've decided to kind of branch out and try new things. Like, for example, I work with one company who does shuttle transportation primarily, and they've launched a transportation consulting company. And their first question was, can we put this into our website and start selling it on our regular website? And I looked at them and I'm like, no, absolutely not. While it's somewhat related and you can certainly cross-sell that, it should be its own website, its own brand, its own entity. I have another company I work with that does charters, but they also have a tour business. Again, 2 distinct brands, 2 distinct services, 2 distinct websites. You don't want to dilute one message in one area, and then, you know what I mean? You want to make sure that each message can stand on its own, and then cross-sell and cross-promote between the brands. If you have businesses that are completely unrelated, so for example, you decide, okay, I'm going to start a dog walking business. Paula and I actually talked about this one. You really can't cross-sell that inside of your transportation business. Let it stand on its own, build its own entity, but don't try to cross-sell those 2 items. If they're unrelated, keep them separate.
What kind of business was that?
Dog walking.
Oh, okay.
Which, unless you're picking up the dogs and you're offering transportation services for the dogs, it's really not related. So you just want to make sure that if it's related, absolutely cross-sell, but to the extent that you can, keep the brands separate. I have a client in Hawaii. He has, this is a good way of looking at how to adapt. He has a tour business, and he has a shuttle business, and his limo business. And all of those are obviously way down. Well, one of the things that he looked at doing was he just launched a new collision repair service, really high-end collision repair services. And he realized there was actually quite a demand. People are repairing their vehicles, fixing their vehicles, as opposed to buying new. And he's working with lots of different other transportation providers who want to simply rehab or revamp their vehicles as well, instead of buying new. So he's seen a big demand in that, and that was just a new entity he launched over the summer. So that's something that you can be, you can think about creative ways to launch different businesses that support a new line of revenue. So let's move on to websites. Hopefully everybody here has a website. If you do not, now is the perfect time for you to build one. There are many ways in which you can do this without breaking the bank. Wix, Squarespace, GoDaddy, they all have almost low to no cost website page builders that you can literally sign up, enter in a domain, register it, host it for probably $5 a month, and they're going to give you tools to walk through how to drag and drop and add your logo and pictures to a website and call it a day. And it will be mobile friendly and responsive. Is it going to be customized? No. Is it going to be as high end as some other sites that you may have seen out there? No, but it will get you on the map, and that's a good starting point. One thing that I do want to talk about from the website standpoint is I've heard a lot of people say, well, I've stopped SEO altogether. I've just cut that spending and I've stopped worrying about it. But here's something that I need you guys to consider. Google has not stopped. Google has continued to push out updates throughout the pandemic. They have continued to change their search algorithms. They have continued to do lots of different things behind the scenes. And if you basically let it go, and you let yourself slip in search, or worse yet, you're not even on page 1 for any of the search terms that you used to be, or perhaps you're not even targeting your content at all and you're nowhere to be found, you really need to focus on that. Because when this turns around, you want to make sure your business, your website is easy to find and easy to use. So Tracy made reference to a lot of people revamping their websites. Let's say you have one right now. Now is a great time to revisit its design, to clean it up, to add some more new content to it, fix any technical issues that might exist. So for example, last year I ran audits for a number of companies after the ILBA annual meeting. if that's something that you would like me to do, reach out. I'm happy to do it. That's one of those things where it's very specific and gives you concrete examples of what needs to be fixed on your website that will help you with your search engine rankings. It will improve your users' end experience. So it's really important that you take care of those technical issues. You want to make sure that your content today accurately reflects your services today. You should not have a picture on your homepage of a big group of people at a convention center all huddled together. You should not have pictures of groups huddled together in airports without masks. I mean, you have to think about the context of which we're marketing in. People want to see images that reflect their situation they're in today. So you want to make sure that you're putting that forward. You want to make sure your pricing changes, schedule changes, cleaning procedures, all of that information that's relevant to people is right up in front on your website, and it's easy to find. For those of you who are in the redesign phase or perhaps looking at launching a website, the last 3 pieces are that it needs to be mobile friendly on a mobile device, has to be. It needs to be secure, and it needs to be fast. Those are Google's hot buttons. If you miss the mark on any one of those areas, you're going to be in trouble. So really spend time to make sure it's mobile friendly, fast, and secure.
We just did a, Paula, we just did a test of ours, and for about a week, we went in and resized all the photos and a whole bunch of stuff, because if you don't check your website periodically, go and do it on your phone. If it does not pop up real fast, that's what the customers are seeing. I've tried a few of our local folks' websites, and they don't even come up for mobile at all. But if you start with at least taking your website and clean and getting some fresh photos out there, that will help too. And that's exactly what we did. And also make sure you're following all the copyright laws on your photos. There's a lot of free sites that we use now with no attribution and all that stuff.
Right. So on that point, I have gotten lots of people who've over the years sent me photos saying, I want this to be the photo on my website.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it from Google Images. And they said, well, it doesn't say specifically I can't. And I said, you actually need to change the settings on your Google search on images. And it needs to say reuse with modification, not non-commercial, not non-commercial reuse with some modification. You need to look at the licensing, because most of the images you see in Google are rights managed. They are copyright protected. You have to attribute some, even the ones that show up in like Wikimedia, you have to still have a creative license attributed to it. I generally tell people you are best served at either having your own photo shoot, going out and taking your own pictures. It's better than taking a rights managed photo off of Google and getting in trouble for it. Or use a stock photo site. There's plenty of them out there that have very reasonable rates. I use Adobe Stock, I use Getty Images, I use Shutterstock and iStock. All of those are very great photo programs that you can have higher end photo selection from and lower end photo selection from, so they're more affordable. They even have video clips. But honestly, the best photos are the ones that are of your people and your vehicles, your photos. Those are the best ones that show your experience and show people like what to expect when they actually engage with you.
We are using Pixabay, and they have, you make a donation to the photographer, and then they ask you to do an attribution if it's appropriate. And so for like $2, $4, you can get pretty good photos.
Right.
Yeah, and we use that for like the wedding photos, pictures of flowers, things that are not, and then the rest we do our own photography. So it's a good mix. And yeah, just be really super careful, guys, because people have gotten sued. Yeah.
Paula, what was the name of that website?
Pixabay. I'll send it out when we send out the materials. I got actually a couple of them that we use. Yeah.
And Marin is correct. By the way, guys, Marin is correct. They have rooms of interns searching websites for pictures that are out there that are licensed.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do use one, you will get a letter. It might be cease and desist, or it might just be with a bill for the use of that photo, and they will go back and they'll look at it.
Yep. They even have just online algorithms now, like GoFish Digital. You can plug in a picture from a website you've seen, and it will spit back every place that website that picture shows up online. So if you think that you're not going to get caught, Art's right. You will for sure get caught. I know one company several years ago that had a picture on, and They got a bill from the photographer for $2,500.
Yeah.
There was no way getting around it. And this photographer was so upset. He actually took it on social media and had all of his followers on social media posting, how could you steal from this photographer? This is so terrible. What kind of company steals pictures from another company? I mean, like, it got ugly. So you really want to be very careful with that one.
It's kind of comical because there's one picture that people's websites you see often, and it's the gloved hand opening the door, and I think it's a Shutterstock.
Yeah.
And I'm so sure that nobody has, that many people have not paid for it. And I see it sometimes and I just start cracking up because I think, oh my gosh, really? Yeah. But I don't want to see you guys get into trouble. So.
But on that note, the other piece that you have to remember is when you even go to a stock photography website, there are a lot of pictures in there that are still called editorial. You cannot use editorial images to promote your business and brand. If you're putting it in a blog post, that's one thing. But if you try to download a picture of a celebrity or Chicago O'Hare Airport or something that is editorial only, that means you cannot use it for your commercial marketing purposes.
Yeah.
So kind of moving on to another thing that you can do with your website right now is a lot of people overlook this one, but FAQs. You should have an FAQs page, or you should have 3 to 5 FAQs per critical page. So when I say critical page, you might have wedding transportation. There might be specific FAQs that would support weddings and weddings only. And they could be ones that the top FAQs that you get, put them on your wedding page is a good example. But going a step further than that, you should actually be using something called FAQ schema, which is Google's FAQ code. It goes behind the scenes. But what happens behind the scenes is that those FAQs then show up in the search results and take up a considerable amount of more real estate on the page. Like you have a listing on a website that might be this. With the FAQs, it's now this on Google's, on Google search results. You can expand and collapse. You can embed links with clear calls to action to encourage that click-through and conversion. It's very powerful. Plus, FAQs are fantastic for Google search and voice-activated search, as well as the people always ask. That's how they start generating answers and responses. So the more FAQs that are quality FAQs you can build throughout your website, and I'm not saying have 25 FAQs per page to try to get it to work. Really, Google only likes to display 3 to 5, and then they'll say more here, and then you lose it after that. So I'm saying quality FAQs that make sense. Like, what are your business hours? Response to how much does it cost? What is your service area? How do I manage or edit or book a reservation? Something like that. These are really good, relevant FAQs. Another thing that you can do that a lot of people overlook, or they think it's going to be too much money or don't know how, is chat. Online chat is an extremely powerful tool that you can use, especially if you've had staff reductions, because most of these online chat tools now have a free program level that you can start with, and they'll text you, they'll send you emails and notify you when prospects or customers are trying to talk to you. So if you don't have someone in the office 24/7 anymore, or you've reduced your staff significantly, you can still look like you have a full call center or full communication staff available that are ready to talk to your customers and prospects. And again, these are free. Tidio is free, a whole lot of them. Talk2 is a very popular one. It integrates right into your website. You can have a console you can log right into. You can set up pre-canned responses, and you can even have commonly answered questions out there too, so people can read through it. Some of them even have artificial intelligence built into it so that you can start asking questions and it will know based off of your response what the next set of questions should be to kind of direct you to the right place.
Yeah. The other day, and I'm using Chat2, and they actually, if I read it right, they actually have an integration into a chatbot. So we'll be able to develop an AI with questions. It won't be, maybe I'm trying to figure out the number of questions right now, but I'm thinking like 5, maybe that, just some general questions. And then you can actually, they have for $1 an hour or something, you can pay for someone to respond. But honestly, with our stuff being so complex, I don't think it would really work well. But it's interesting because when the pandemic started hitting and people were out surfing a lot, it also records how many times there was a visitor to our site. We were getting blown away because we had so many hits on our site that it was like double what we normally get in a given week. So It's another way to see how things, how many customers are actually going out there too, informally
And it's a great
anyway.
way to keep the conversation going. I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's all about engagement, and it's all about being remaining relevant in today's market. And this is a great way to keep that communication going.
It's totally free if you find the right one.
Right, exactly. And we actually have a little document after this that Paul is going to share with people that has some of the free tools that are out there that you can use right now in your business. You can hand it off to one of your staff members and they can put a little time in and elbow grease and do the research and set it up. Another thing that I would add from the SEO standpoint, which also relates to the content on your website, is you need to start doing the research. Market shifts are happening. User behavior is changing. New buzzwords are coming into the forefront that really need to be present in your content. Contactless, safety, no contact. All of these things, these big buzzwords are really coming to the forefront. And when people are searching, you want to maybe look at ways in which you need to incorporate that into your marketing and into your content and your messaging. A great way to start with this is Google's Keyword Planner. It's completely free. We have a link to that as well. There are a lot of paid tools that have it as well, but I'm more looking at tools that you can use to low to no cost right now to continue your marketing efforts. But the Google Keyword Planner will allow you to also look at trends, what keywords are popular, what their search volume is per month. You can then look at who's ranking for them right now. You can, it'll offer up alternative suggestions to those keywords. You can even see what's trending on Google and look at those keywords to see if somehow those relate to your business and how you might be able to incorporate that into your messaging and further adapt your business into that area. The next area I want to talk about today is social media. Paul and I actually have had quite a few talks about this. If you're not doing social media, you should absolutely be reconsidering that. You should be active on social media right now. Instagram usage is up 32%. Facebook usage is up 50%.
Yeah.
But here's what I want to really push towards you is that you have to be posting with a purpose. Right now, it's not about the direct sale. It's about communication and it's about engagement. It's okay to promote your brand, but that's not all you should be doing. You should not just be pushing out offer after offer or, book my car service, 15% off airport, 15% off airport, because that's boring. It's not going to engage with people. And it's not keeping that dialogue going the way that you would want.
Erin,
Yes.
may I pop in with what I have been doing with my Facebook pages, and my LinkedIn page?
Yes.
Where I am posting, I know it sounds weird, but jokes. People love jokes. It makes them feel good. They actually read them. I've been posting things related somewhat to Corona, but not too heavily because I don't want people to get depressed.
Right.
Posting, sharing things such as what's happening in the city when there are positive things like openings, places to go, things to see, trails to walk. LinkedIn, I'm posting webinars, seminars, opportunities for people, and anything that I've been doing right now has been coming through those two pages because people are viewing them to see what's happening.
Right. Absolutely. You're spot on. So one of the things I would tell you is like exactly what you just said is people are looking to your social media accounts to find out what's happening with your business. Okay. So you should be sharing if there's a change in your service, if there's change in your hours, if there's change in your pricing, what to expect in the coming days. Certainly repost, share, comment on what other people are sharing and posting. Community is a really big one, which is what Antoinette was talking about. People like to follow things that make them feel good. If you have done military transfers, back to school drives, food drives, helping with the schools in any which way, shape, or form, or getting out there in the community to do storm cleanup, I don't really care. But people like to read things that do make them feel good and make them feel like there's still hope in the world. They just do.
To that end, though, I am still in, for those of you that don't know yet, Art knows, I am with Ponarelli now, and I do take things from the Ponarelli website and post those as well on my two pages so that that's kind of out there. So I do intersperse that so that, people see that and can associate with that as well.
Right. And it's a balance. It's not to say you can't, if you have a great package or offer that you want to share with people, Absolutely promote that. You can put that out there, but you just have to sprinkle it in with other things too, so that it's not all about you. It's more about helping community and engagement.
Our guiding message has been, we're here if you need us, and we've been taking the track of very soft, for lack of a better term, soft marketing. So it may be implied that we're available and that you can call us and all that, but we're not pushing it real hard. But what I've noticed in the last couple of weeks, and it's been great, and I've been posting it in our page, is we have a few really cool events going on that are totally socially distanced. Like I was telling Antoinette last night about the courtyard concerts, or the rooftop concerts. We're getting hits for people looking at it. We're saying, hey, if you decide to go, call us and let's talk transportation. And I think that's kind of where you can pivot a little bit, because you can say, hey, this is great. The movie's on the water. Hey, this is going to be happening in the city. Did you know? And by the way,
we can get you right. Exactly. It's the soft sell. It's a soft sell.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more on that one. I think that that's a big one. The other is it's all about helping beat selling these days. People don't want to be perceived as though you're pushing a product, but if you're helping and then you're soft selling, somehow that's okay. It's the value that you're bringing, and people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Yep. So other things that I would sell you that you could try, which I think is also very popular, and again, it does that feel good, is spotlight your people. Your people are your business. Even if you've had to furlough them, or you let some people go, or you're bringing some people back, this is a great way to spotlight the drivers and the people who made your business in the first place. Tell their positive customer stories, give some background, because it puts a face to the business and it makes it personal.
Just make sure you check their personal Facebook page if you do it on Facebook.
Oh, I'm going to get into that.
I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. That's just a mechanical answer that I always have.
I know, right? But the other thing that you can do, which a lot of people say, well, I don't have the money to do. I know it's really expensive to build them right now, but spotlight your customers. I'm sure that you have a lot of customers that know you're struggling, and they would be happy to be a champion of your business and to be a brand ambassador. And you do not need to have a professional video cut right now. I know budgets aren't there to do that. You can literally set up a Zoom call and record it with their permission, ask them to share their experience working with you, and put that online. I can guarantee you it will sell a lot more about your business than a static photo will any day of the week. And it also speaks to the exact situation we're all in, that people can't get together like they used to. We're in a new world and a new game, and maybe it would be nice to see how customers would champion you and come on via Zoom or whatever other program you want to use and share their stories working with you. On the social media front, one thing that you do want to be looking at is if you have made a lot of updates to your business, update your bios. People forget that. So if you've had a change in hours of operation, if you've had a change in service offerings, you've dropped a service, you've added a service, make sure you update those bios and share that information with people. Another one would be kind of what we talked on with the website, but use appropriate visuals that kind of tell about what is happening today, right? Don't put, airport transfers or event transportation with big groups of type people in there right now, because that's just not what's appropriate. You need to think of really on social media what's appropriate today. And then of course, which is what Paula just started to talk about, you need to be very cognizant of political and highly controversial topics. It's not to say, and it is not my place to tell you what you can and cannot share on social media. I would never presume to do that. It is up to you if you want to engage in and post your opinion and share your opinion about highly controversial political topics. But what you do need to remember is that what you say online will get back to your brand. Most people in this group probably like each other's own personal Facebook pages and Instagram pages and accounts. And then they also follow your business as well at the same time. There is a direct connection, dotted line going between you and your business. Especially for the business owners out there, it's going to come back. And you need to just go into it with your eyes wide open. If you post or share something that might be perceived as being a big turnoff to others, you might have to just deal with the consequence that you might lose some business over that or lose partner relationships over that. As long as you go into it with your eyes wide open then it's fine. I would say the same would be true for your employees. You should be very careful about that, because if they are active on your page and like and share your page and contribute in any way, shape, or form, and people know that they work for you and they advertise that or basically say that they work for you on their own personal pages, and then they're putting a lot of very challenging things, I'm going to say, online, that can have a very negative impact on your brand as well. So you have to be very careful and monitor that.
I mean, it hasn't happened to us for a while, but I'll share this with everyone. We generally don't connect with our drivers unless they want to, but then we ask them if they would please, if they're going to post, certain things that, we really don't want to be connected. But the thing that happened to us a few years ago is we had one person that actually was posting photos from a trip, and it was a high profile person. And if we hadn't been checking their profiles, we wouldn't have noticed it, and we had to pull them down right away. They didn't see anything wrong with it because they were doing the job. But that kind of stuff right now, particularly if you're working with politicians or anyone who's in the news or high profile, and some of you are, there can't be any to the chauffeurs. So be really careful, guys. Seriously. It's all innocent. A lot of it's innocent. I picked up the mayor's assistant. No, it still is not cool. So.
Right. So from a social media standpoint, in addition to kind of the general posts that are out there and videos that obviously will garner a lot more engagement than just a static image, other things that you can be considering are ads. And running ads right now, although you might be looking at the total spend, it's actually very cost effective. Your dollar goes further today than it did back in February. The cost for advertising has actually dropped because there's less competition. The click-through and conversion is also down as well, so you kind of have to weigh the pros and cons of that, but your dollar will go further if you do advertising right now. This is true for Google AdWords as well. Had you asked me if I would be recommending people advertise back in April and May, I would tell you no. Most of the companies I worked with halted all of their paid advertising. Come June and July, all of them have resumed. Every business is now doing paid advertising again. They're doing it at a smaller budget, and they're doing it in a far more targeted way where they're really looking at their customer segmentation and evaluating who they really want to kind of send that message to and what they want to push. But they are advertising. And I would encourage you to consider that as well. Think about an area of the business that you want to look at. How does it align in today's world? How can you make it adapt? And then push that message out to a very targeted audience. There are lots of companies that can help you target if you don't know how. I know Bill Faith has offered many courses and instructions on how to do that and segment your lists, especially like in Facebook as an example. But this is a great way to start advertising at a very low cost. You can do it for as little as $1 a day. I mean, we're talking low cost ads that can bring you some additional exposure and awareness to your brand.
Maren, I'm curious, what are the trends that they're seeing? So like from May, June, July, now we're close to mid-August. What are the trends that they're starting to see as far as activity?
Every client that I'm working with is seeing a bump in their paid advertising revenue. So I work with one company who resumed in mid-June, and it was very slow to begin. By the end of June, it had upticked about 20%. So they're making money at this point. In fact, I'll tell you this. They're the one company I'm talking with and working with right now, the revenue that's coming in via their website, 90% of it is from paid.
Wow.
90% of it is coming from paid right now. So that's one channel we're like, okay, we're going to keep that one going because it's paying for itself. It's keeping them visible, and they're not doing special discounts. Now it's a shuttle service, but they're pushing private transportation, but they are doing quite well with it. And it's the one channel that's producing quite a bit of revenue.
So you just mentioned shuttle service. So are they going like point A to point B just to get somewhere, or is it more on the retail side of it?
It's primarily, so when I say shuttles, they do so shuttle services, it's point A to point B, but they're doing more of the private rides. And what they're saying is it's nonstop shuttle because it's, when you hear chauffeured ride or whatever, you think that it's going to cost more. Although the connotation between limo and chauffeur right now is actually very positive because that it's going to be a clean, safer ride. People are not interested. I think I saw somewhere that Uber's rideshare is down 72%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Something like that.
Their Uber Eats is up considerably. That's what's keeping the company going strong. So I think that, pushing that private experience is a really positive one right now. I think that's why yard ride operators are trying to really break into that space more, but they don't necessarily have the fleet to do the full-on chauffeured experience. You know what I mean? But I would say ads right now are a really good thing to look at. You want to work with with an AdWords company. I would tell you hands down, this is not something right now where you want to do by yourself. You could work with a company and get set up the right way, have them help you target an audience and the keywords that you want to be going after, help you craft the message that you want to push, and they'll help you figure out the right budget to set. And again, ad spend is way more affordable than it was a few months ago. It goes a lot further because the competition is down. But the benefit with that is that they can set it up for success so that you will see a return on your investment. The whole idea behind the ads is that when you run them, you want to make sure that you're not only paying for the consulting services to get it set up, but you're making a lot of money on top of that. And I'm seeing that across the board right now with the companies that I'm working with who are in the paid space. So that's something to just keep in mind. I will say another piece that we're seeing a lot of is that the funnel's taking a lot longer. So, people see an ad on social media or they visit your website, they may not convert right away. They get an email, they might click on it and come to your website, but they don't purchase. It takes them multiple touch points to get that funnel and that conversion to come through. That's pretty much standard right now. It is taking a lot longer to get it out there. So the more channels that you can reach your customers and your prospects, the better off you'll be. You want to hit them from as many angles as you can when you are doing a compelling direct sale. This is not to inundate them all over the place, but it's kind of like someone goes to your website and then you go to social media, or you go to a website, better one maybe. You go to a website, you look at a shirt, you go to social media, there's an ad for that shirt. You go to your inbox and someone says, you get an email from that company saying, hey, I noticed that you have an item in your cart. Would you like to complete the purchase? Mm-hmm. Or you go to another website and you see the shirt again and you keep seeing it over and over. And finally you're like, okay, fine. I'm going to go back and look at that shirt or what have you. The retargeted marketing is very popular. It's not inexpensive, but it can be very effective. So I'll say that. And you can use Google's display network to do those ads. So that's another thing that you can click into. So you can enable, if you're going to do Google AdWords, you can enable the Google Display Network, which will have your ads serve up in different websites, basically, if somebody looks at the product but doesn't purchase. So that's something that you can look at too. So I would encourage you to consider ads as part of your strategy. Another area that you should be looking at is email marketing. And this can absolutely be 100% free. There are lots of programs out there, MailChimp, Constant Contact, Sendinblue, that are all completely free to start with. In fact, MailChimp, I think you can have 2,000 subscribers and send up to 10,000 emails a month, 100% for free. They have page builders that you can literally drag and drop your pictures and content and images, and you don't have to be a coder at all. You can be a complete novice and build a beautiful mobile-friendly email and send it out. You can send out targeted emails and messages to specific groups. So you might have a full customer list, but then you might have within that customer list segments. So you could have, PTAs or high school, school districts. You could have corporate accounts. You could have, wedding venues and meeting planners, and you can send targeted emails to just specific segments. But you should be reaching out to your customers every month, at least once a month. I'm not saying send an email every week by any means. It needs to be a relevant message that you're sharing something compelling with them. You don't want to bore them to death with the same old email over and over again. I think Paul and I were joking. She and I have both received probably, 50 emails of, here, watch our cleaning video. Here's our updated cleaning procedures. And there's only so many of those emails you can get before you're like, okay, come on, tell me something new. So when you have something new to share, send an email. Even if it's look, we launched our new website, give us your feedback. Or you might have a promotion and then you add on to it. Did you know we also do these things? If you're having a hard time converting, some of the things you can try are service upgrades, book now or travel later promos, book now, schedule later for the big buses and stuff. So, you had to postpone your wedding to 2021. Fine. You may not have the date, but book it now, you know, reserve something now. We'll know that you're there, put a 50% deposit down or a 25% deposit down, and we'll lock you in and we'll work with you on a date once you have one. As long as it's, you give a 6 month advance, 6 months advance notice, no problem, or 3 months advance notice. Loyalty bundles, partner with other businesses in your area, hotels or points program. Notice I'm not saying airline miles. I'm saying a points program because you can use it for, you can get Amazon gift cards. You can get gift cards that you can use at online retailers. And right now we're living in a virtual world and online is king. So you want to be able to reward people for using your service and give them something that they can actually use. So if they're not going to be shopping in a brick and mortar store, give them an online coupon someplace else. They're not traveling right now, that's fine. Give them something else in exchange.
Some of you may have already seen American Express if you're a merchant. They've been providing some free advertising that you can use. If you haven't seen it, definitely go out to their site. They have messages, I think, for Facebook and some ads and a few small things, but they're free.
Yeah.
And they're promoting for their customers to use any of the businesses, and they're giving back some like a rebate. So, and most of us do a lot of American Express. So,
yeah. Get creative. You want to get creative with your offers and your loyalty programs. You want to try to come up with new messages that you can send out. I know Windy City does an excellent job of this. They have something new out there regularly. I often see it. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting way. I know there was a Father's Day one. I've seen a bunch of them where it's like, okay, I never thought about that. But you know, you got to get creative. Now is the time to get creative with your services and your offers. You have to find those new revenue streams. I was talking to someone last week, you know, and I gave him the idea, but I'll share it with you guys here too. I'm not sure if you made it onto the call or not, but my son's a rising senior. He is not going to have homecoming this year. He has accepted that. He is bummed about that. And I had said, you know, what would be really cool if transportation companies stepped up and came up with an affordable package, like a rolling HOCO trolley or a rolling HOCO experience where you have 10 students who can safely board from a single point. Parents have to sign a waiver. My kid is healthy. They can't get off the bus or they can't get off the trolley, but we'll take them around the city of Chicago so they can experience a virtual homecoming and get to be with some of their friends. People are doing that to a slight degree with proms, but they were meeting in a general place or enclosed space. This gives you the ability to keep them rolling, moving around, and you drop them off and the kids still get to have some experience. I asked my son and he's like, yes, mom, sign me up. I want to do that. And he asked his friends and his friends said, oh my gosh, that'd be so cool. So that's something where you can say, okay, we used to do school dances. We can't anymore because of the pandemic. Yes, you can. It's just not the traditional way of looking at it. Yeah. So it's kind of looking at things that you've always provided. How can you do it in a different way? Micro weddings, big, big thing. What about a virtual wedding brigade? I mean, think about it. You could have a rolling wedding. You could literally have a rolling wedding where different people are different vehicles and you're transporting them so they don't have to necessarily postpone the whole wedding and you can go by people's houses, mom and dad's, grandma, grandpa's, all that other stuff. Heard of that one happening. So there's lots of things that you can do, but the big takeaway is find ways that you can help out in the community, find ways that your business can help be part of a solution. You have to adapt. If you don't adapt, you probably won't make it, and you want to make it, so get creative. You've got to get creative.
Ta-da! Ta-da! And I felt like it needed one after that.
Right. Yeah. You know, and there are a lot of great success stories that I'm already hearing from companies who are rolling up their sleeves and they're not spending a lot of money at all. They have brought back one case. I'm working with a company and they brought back one person because she had expressed a strong interest in marketing, and they asked me, listen, we can't pay you per month to do stuff for us, but could you show her how to do some of this and train her and give her some tips so that she can do enough to get us through it and do it on her own? And I've sat down and I've worked with her and she's doing it. So, and she's excited. She feels invigorated because she's trying something new and it's challenging, and they're not spending a ton of money to do this. You know, some businesses are doing quite well. You just have to get really creative and change up the way in which you approach it.
Yeah.
And I would say, the last thing I'll say is use this time wisely. Yeah. You know, use this time wisely. it's a unique opportunity that everybody's been presented with. This is, you know, obviously a very difficult time, but you can look at it like you have time to do things that you've been putting off for months or years. Use the time wisely. And when this is all done, look back and say, I did all of these things, and I got all of these things done during this time. And, you know, you'll be the better for it when you come out of it.
Yeah.
Maren, I see that you have 2 handouts that we're going to send to everyone. Is there anything that you want to say about either one of those handouts?
No, not really. I mean, I think that what it is, one is just an overview of what I do. So if you have any, anything that you're wanting help with, whether that's websites or SEO or training and strategy planning, I'm happy to work with people. If you want an audit, I'll run those audits for you so you can know what you need to do within your own organization to get your website ready. And then the other one is tools. All the things that I talked about today, you can do basically for low to no cost. And every tool I put on there has a free option, and you can sign up for it and use those tools to build visual graphics, send emails, monitor your social media accounts, learn how to do all these different things, get marketing strategy, insight ideas, all of these things, monitor the health of your website for free. You do not have to pay for these things. And that's what's so important here is just halting your marketing spend is one thing. Halting your marketing is another thing altogether. You should not be halting your marketing just because you have to conserve your cash. Your marketing can continue it. You just need to make sure that you are using the resources and the tools you have available to you.
Yeah. But the guy, our folks, or the one gentleman that works for us that does all of our development and social media setups and stuff, if it's not a free tool, he spends an hour and looks for one. And it drives me crazy. But there's a good point. There's a good lesson to be learned there, because I will look at something and say, wow, this is great. It does X, Y, and Z. And he'll be, we're not paying for that. And that's the conversation we have almost every single time. But you'll be surprised how much stuff is free or relatively low cost for small companies. And I think well worth it. You know, the only thing we didn't really touch on is blogging, and that's one thing we're going to be going back to. We're working on blog calendar right now as an effort to just put some general information, not about the COVID, but just planning and travel and things that are related like that. And then right, so that because that can help you organically boost your SEO as well by blogging.
To a degree.
Yeah,
yes.
To a degree, yeah.
Number of years ago, I would say hands down that's true. Not as much anymore as it used to be. But what is important with the blog, so let's say you really are struggling with content creation on that front, because that's what usually trips people up is, how do I even begin to start writing blogs? You can look to your old posts for inspiration. That's one thing you can do. You can take a post that was written 2-3 years ago and update it for 2020. That's one thing you can do to repackage content.
That's what I'm actually doing.
Yeah. You can repurpose old content. You can take something that was wildly popular or a hot topic, like your cleaning procedures or something like that, safety precautions, customer success stories, and you can turn them into blog posts. Yeah. You can also write blog posts for upcoming events that have been rescheduled for 2021 or the fall or later 2020. There's lots of ways you can do that. The one thing that I will caution you with blogs is that I wouldn't call it blog unless you have an intent of actually maintaining it and keeping it up. It actually does not work well for you if your last blog post was 5 years ago, and then you finally start posting a slew of posts back to back to back, and then all of a sudden it goes from every 2 weeks down to once a month, down to once every 3 months, once every 5 months, and then before you know it, your blog is a year out of date.
There's some people that haven't posted for a long time because I went and interrogated other people's sites, and you're right. So should we call it something else, like Limo Corner or something? That, yeah, a different name. Yeah.
I work with one company, and what we called it is Going Places.
Okay. Yeah, we'll come up with a different name because you're right. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, it dates it, or it can even be latest news or news and information. But just be careful with the word blog, because people see it and they're like, this company really let things go. Even though you may be updating everything else, you just haven't had anything news to write about in a while or what have you. just be careful with that. It's a slippery slope.
No, that's a good point. Maybe we'll take Blogger off the website too, and just put it behind the scenes. Thank you for that.
Hey guys, I just want to let you know, Maren works with a couple of our clients as well with their websites. Does some really good work. It's something that Create a Card doesn't do. If you're looking, whether you're a vendor or an operator, give her an opportunity. She's fresh. She has new ideas. She was stifled maybe when she was with Hudson, and she had all these great ideas about websites and everything, couldn't do them. Now she's doing them for clients. I have both vendors and clients that I use her currently. I would highly recommend her, at least give her an opportunity to review your website. Sometimes you just don't see what other people have been doing for your website. So a new set of eyes will help you. You might think it's good, but it's stagnant. She'll bring some new ideas, and hopefully maybe those new ideas will help generate some revenue right now for you. Just my unbiased opinion.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. And on the same note, I will tell you, visual images, updated brand and messaging, you should be looking to Driving Results and Create a Card to help you with that. Because honestly, if you have outdated graphics, outdated information, and outdated visuals, it's going to show. We're now living in a world of masks. We're living in a world of safety protocols and social distancing. If all of your materials look like pre-pandemic, now is a time to start thinking about post-pandemic and while we're in pandemic marketing. And you need to make sure that your visuals accurately represent the world in which we're living and may be living for a while.
Maren, what are your thoughts on videos? I know like 2-3 years ago, videos were very popular for websites. Is that still the case?
Videos are very popular. They're very engaging. They're very good. I will tell you, you have to be careful with the size and the length. So I'll give a good example. Somebody's giving me a clip and it's like, 8 minutes long. You cannot use a minute-long clip on your website. It's just, no one's going to watch that. It's too long unless you actually set it up and market it as such in the beginning of, you're going to watch, a mini documentary or something like that where there's a lot of information. You're better having a big clip spliced into digestible, smaller, shorter clips. I like it when it's selling a specific message that I think people need to hear, but I think you have to balance the video and make sure that it's a good quality video. Customer testimonials, customer videos, very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. Sometimes you can say something like they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. If you can have a video that clearly demonstrates your value proposition, what sets your business apart from someone else, and why somebody would consider paying more for a chauffeured service right now or private service, definitely do it in that regard. But just watch the load times. I would tell people if you're gonna stream, if you want to have background video on your website as an example, use a streaming service and then have it embedded into your site. Don't upload it to your site and try to stream it directly through your site. It's going to chug. And again, Google looks at everything from the speed standpoint. It's one of their most important metrics. And if the video slows down your site and your load time, that's going to be a problem for you on the SEO front.
Good info. Does anyone else have any questions for Maren for any of the information she presented? No? All right. Thank you very much, Maren. That was excellent information, especially during these times.
My pleasure.
Okay, so at this time, then we will move into our roundtable discussion. I don't think I've seen any questions in the chat. No. Does anyone have a question or anything that they would like to discuss with the group? I see that we have several vendors that are on. If the vendors have anything that they would like to share regarding our industry or what they're seeing as trends. If anyone has any questions for the vendors.
Tracy, since I hear crickets, I'll jump in. As you know, I'm never short of words.
I agree.
I do think as Maren first started, is the less that people are doing, it's not helping their business. You have to open the communication and you need to really get your name out there, because what's happening right now is we're now 4 or 5 months into this. If you are using XYZ and you don't have it on auto dial or saved in your phone or something, you're forgetting about them. They're just out of your mind. There's been so many other things that are going on right now that people are forgetting who you are. Even if you use them on a regular once a week service. If you're not out there, they're going to forget you. And all it takes is, so if you're looking for new business and you want to start getting into the accounts that your competitor was doing, just start blogging, start social media, start e-blast, get your name out there. Go back to right now, everybody's home. Go back to direct mail. How great would it be to receive a postcard in the mail if you have home addresses? If not, do every door direct mail where you hit a certain zip code, because people are home, they're not in the office. This is a new opportunity. So if you want to hit certain zip codes and you're selling retail business right now, you work corporate, but you want to transfer into retail, you know the zip codes where the people have the money. You do in every door direct mail and you get them at home where they are. They're no longer at the office. But the main thing is, if you just stop everything because you have no money, you look at the bank account, it's going negative, find a way. And Paula said too, you can find free stuff. Free stuff is great. It fills a need, but sometimes you need professional. The same way that, you know, someone's grandparent or someone's brother or sister could drive them to the airport and you're saying, well, why don't they use my service? Because they get it for damn free. So here you are, you want to use everything for free, but at the same point, as soon as somebody uses a free transfer to an airport, you get all upset. You have to understand there's certain times that we need to reach into our pockets and pay for some things because there's professionalism. There's things that certain vendors know. You're going to go to Chris for a bus because he knows the bus. Or you're going to go to Battisti because he knows this and this is what they've been doing. You have to trust the professionals for their knowledge and they will help you. It might cost you $1 or $2 or whatever it is, but in the long run, you're going to save a ton of money. So as much as free is good, there's certain things that you can do free. There's other things that you're going to pay for. But the most important thing, I think, and this is really the conversation that everyone has to have, is keep your name out there, no matter where it is. I mean, if you don't see me, you see on the screen, you see Drew's here. Drew jumped off a call because he went on the NELA call. He got himself involved in the board. So whatever we have to do as a company, we're doing to keep our exposure out there. We understand the industry is devastated. It's down 75, 80, almost 90%. So what does that mean? That means we get less business. As vendors, it's no different than Chris and Bill. They're not selling vehicles. Who's buying a brand new vehicle? You know, they'll take a used vehicle in, they'll do a trade. Maybe, hopefully somebody wants to upgrade. But we're finding ways to keep ourselves out there as vendors, no differently than the operators are trying to find ways to keep their names out there. Find things that will spark the interest. What would make you excited to go out? Right now, we're all dying to go somewhere. So if it means just taking a vehicle for a couple of hours that you can make it, but don't beat the person up and make it a special, getaway for a couple of hours. Just give people the opportunity to get out of their four walls, because I'm sure you guys are like us, and I'm seeing Art in his home and everyone else who's in their home who's not even getting to their office. It's killing us. You need to get outside, because otherwise we're all just going to become these people inside, and we're going to be afraid to go outside. So my suggestion is, whatever you can do to keep your name out there, whatever you can do to get your business name out there, it is so important right now. And if it means even taking some money from your left pocket to help pay somebody to help get you some exposure, do it. Because if 20 customers forget your name, there's the revenue that you're losing. For a little investment, whether it's with my company, another company, whoever it is, make sure you're getting your information out there to your clients. That's the best advice I can offer right now.
Yeah, I think that it's a really good point. And sometimes what I'm noticing, because I do call the members periodically, is they're making assumptions that their current customers don't want to hear from them at all. And that's not really true. Or they're reading social media posts that say, this office is going work from home for the next, 8 months. And they just assume, well, there's no travel. I don't think what we read, we can automatically assume that we know how business is going to or change. It is information that you have to take into account, but it by no means tells you automatically that totally stop travel, because it's not realistic. I work with a lot of consultants, and I also work with independent consultants who travel. They're going to stop traveling? No, there's actually a demand for them to travel. They're just being hindered right now by the logistics. So my main point in bringing it up is, don't assume that customers don't want to hear from you, and don't assume that what you read automatically says, oh, that office is closed off and business travel is done, because that may or may not be 100% true.
I'd like to say something here. In talking to clients that I've talked to over the last few weeks, there were clients that were actually happy to hear from somebody, because people like to be remembered, and knowing that someone's even thinking of you when you're housebound is kind of a positive, or even just hearing another human voice and having the phone ring is a positive.
Or even just check, like you said, just checking on them and asking them how they're doing and that we're thinking of them. And it's just a highlight of the day, and you're not doing the hard sell, but being sincere and checking on them.
Yeah.
And what Paula just said with you can't read everything and take it for face value what you see online. My husband manages buildings in downtown Chicago. So he is the guy who's in there, and his building on any given day of the week should have about 3,500 people in it, and another one should have about 4,000. And they're at, extremely low capacity, but every one of their tenants is still paying the bills. Every one of their tenants has full intent of sending their employees back to work. They're getting pressure from their employees to stay remote, pretty much remote optional until 2021 or until a vaccine date. Vaccine has been identified where they can start saying, okay, we think it might be 4 or 5 months before this becomes a widespread, availability, or there's a therapeutic that has widespread availability that might be coming out. And then they're going to start planning to send people back in groups A and B. So it'll be waves is what he's hearing. But they have full intent of having at least 50%, if not more, capacity before the end of the year back in the buildings, with the hope of 100% capacity or near 100% capacity by the end of first quarter 2021. And that's what they've heard from their own companies that are tenants in their buildings. And he gets this from BOMA as well. And that's the Building Owners Management Association in Chicago. And most of the building owners are hearing the same thing. A lot of employers want to get their employees back to work by 2021.
Yeah.
So before the end of the year is very, very promising. I mean, that's great news.
So just because somebody says, you hear a big tech giant say, oh, our employees have the option to work remote forever. That's great. But that model doesn't work in a lot of businesses. And a lot of businesses will, leadership will counter and say, yeah, we're making this work, but the innovation and productivity isn't quite what it used to be when people were in the office and could have meetings face to face.
So true, because what you have to understand about corporations, and I worked for one of the biggest insurance companies in the country for years, is that if they make a move and start having more people work from home, that does not necessarily mean those are the people that would normally be traveling anyway. And this whole concept about, well, they can do all their meetings remote, so I'm not going to get any work. That is so far from true, especially if I was in technology. There was not a whole lot that we could do some meetings remote, but most of the time it was go to the client site. You need to be on the ground. So you will see that what will emerge is, yes, companies are taking some cautious steps. I know I was talking to Tracy and telling her about Discover, because one of my guys works at Discover. They're open, but they gave their employees the option, work from home for now or come in the office periodically. And so are they doing that to send a message? No, that's a cautionary tale, because some are also concerned about the liability or the concern that somebody may get COVID and try to sue them and all that. So there's a lot. What I'm saying is there's a lot behind those decisions that we don't know, like the Microsoft one this morning. Does that mean Microsoft is going to cancel travel forever? No, because again, they need to be on the ground depending on what they're working on. So I would not discount it totally. We have a question from a member. It's Bruce from Black Pearl. Hi, Bruce. Anyway, he wants to know what advice we can give to small companies to help generate more business. And he's been listening to all the marketing stuff, and it's great. But he wants to know, what can he do to put himself out there more in the community and with other companies?
So I would tell you, when you say small company, what size fleet do you have, as an example? What does your fleet look like?
Yeah, go ahead, Bruce.
Yes, this is me, Bruce. Hi, thank you very much. I'm just a one-car owner. My past experience has been basically collaborating with other companies when they had, maybe overage, work with Ron and them and whatnot. So I just got into the industry about 3 years ago, so I really hadn't developed a customer base yet, so I don't really have anyone other than maybe the date nights and the prom nights that I've had, once they go to prom one time, then I will come back next year. Oh, my daughter wants to go to prom again, well, she just, she'll move on. So I get more or less of a revolving door, or more or less in and out. So that's my dilemma here, is to contact with these big companies to be able to say, okay, if you have anything that, will require a more private detail with SUV, then, keep me in mind. Of course, the marketing strategy that you were speaking on was very helpful, and we'll try to employ them because they've been calling me, but everybody wants to pay. But like I say, the cost might be a little bit more affordable now than it was 3 or 4 months ago. But still, cost is a issue because money is dwindling since business is not, going right now. So,
well, I can share what we did for just with our local affiliates, because I work with, I don't even know, 7 or 8 different companies. We do subcontracting work, and we wanted to make sure they knew that we were available. So we've sent out a couple of emails to our list of local affiliates. All it said was, if you need help, we're here, the vehicle's available, what we had available for transportation, contact numbers. And in my case, I actually gave them the manager's number too, in case, they call in and the line's busy and they have an ASAP. And we have been getting a few calls. Because the larger companies in the area are not that, they're in the same boat we're in, it's really more of for us, it's more of a message to remind them that, we've been your trusted affiliate, and don't forget, if you need something, we'll help you. And the benefit is that, so if I'm working with Tracy and suddenly she has 3 trips at the same time and doesn't have enough vehicles, oh yeah, wait, Paula's got, a vehicle downtown, ready to go. And so she knows that. And she can call Sud directly, and that's happened a few times. So I would do that for sure. Anyone that you have been working with regularly, definitely send them a message.
On top of that, Bruce, what you could do is, in addition to sending a message or an email to each of those people, you should be following them and commenting and liking their social posts and being connected with them on social media. Because again, if you send them an email and say, I'm available if you need this, and kind of outline what you can provide, and remind them that you're available, and then they see that you're constantly following, sharing, liking their posts, commenting, what have you, in a professional way and whatnot, stay engaged. When something does become available, you're gonna come to the top of their mind. You're gonna remember that you're there, versus, if you just send just an email letter alone, or you just sit there, idly by. I mean, you need to be. It's just like with anything else. You need to be in constant communication. You need to make yourself relevant to them.
Stepping in here, I sold radio time for about 1.5 years. And the one thing I learned when you're selling air is that if you don't keep telling people you have air to sell them, they forget about you.
Absolutely.
It goes back to that old commercial, for those of you that are old enough that remember, if you tell 2 people and they tell 2 people and they tell 2 people, well, they're going to not talk about you if they don't remember seeing you. So whether it be Facebook, Instagram, any of the social medias, in person, an email, the bottom line is you have to keep reaching out to people or they will forget you exist.
And pick up the phone. It's one of those things where it's just kind of like, people today are just living such a virtual world. There's nothing wrong with picking up the phone every now and then and just saying, hey, I just wanted to check in, see how you're doing. Here's what I've been up to. If there's anything that you need, I'll let you know, or let me know. Back and forth like that. Pick up the phone once in a while. People just have stopped calling. I would recommend calling, going that extra mile too.
Hi, this is Melody with VIP Transportation. I just want to chime in and share a couple things that we saw as we ended summer last year, if that's okay.
Yes, definitely.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, I just had knee surgery yesterday, so that's why I didn't put my video on. I don't feel very beautiful today. So anyhow, I have been with VIP Transportation helping Lynn out for just a little over about a year and a half now. And also have a digital marketing background. But, I guess one thing I wanted to say to comment on Bruce was I was kind of surprised at how many things the chamber reaches out to us for quotes, and how many different things in our area that their hands are in. And so we receive a lot of business from the chamber. So if you don't have a contact person or someone, definitely link up with someone. The other things that we saw a lot of, just kind of thinking outside the box, and maybe you guys do too, is, we did quite a few private rides for schools, like you had mentioned about reaching out to schools, for like the reading group when they got to go get pizza, and ride in the limo, or they sold so many things for a fundraiser and they won that opportunity to do the limo ride, and those types of things. So we got a lot of business from that. Other things in our area, we're on the border of Iowa and Illinois. Iowa is more lax. Illinois is much more restricted when it comes to these COVID guidelines. So that can make things tricky. But where we've had some pretty good interest are like brewery and winery tours, because we have quite a few within an hour radius of where we are. And so even though we are restricting, we're not at full capacity, we can still maximize on that for people that are just craving to be with their friends and relatives. So that's been something that has been of interest after the wedding season, and even during the wedding season, which we all know we all got hit hard with that this year. So many cancellations during our busiest time of the year. But also I love the idea of the virtual homecomings. But the next things that were really big for us last year is we usually book almost every weekend for haunted houses, for people that want to go do the party bus and go from haunted house to haunted house. And maybe you guys already do all of this. And then we also have 2 antique trolleys. And so the one thing that we changed this last holiday season, of course, we don't call it a Christmas light tour. We call it a holiday light tour, so we don't offend anyone with different religions. But we tripled our numbers from the year before. And it was, I believe, due to the fact that we decided to, instead of just putting ads out for holiday light tours available, I actually went in and created events for every single day and times, so that people could see what days and times were available. And then as we would book them, then I would remove them. And it really started to spark interest and have people sharing. And like I said, we tripled our numbers. And here we thought we were going to be slow for November, December, and we were swamped, absolutely swamped. So just a few things like that I wanted to share with you guys of what we've done. Unfortunately, a lot of our festivals, of course, have gotten canceled that we were typically a part of. But hopefully that might give you guys some ideas of, other ways to think outside the box and generate some business, before and during winter.
So Melody, are you in, I can't remember where you are. Are you in Indiana?
No, Iowa. We're in Davenport, Iowa.
Oh, you're in Davenport. My apologies.
We're in the Quad. It's the Quad Cities, is what we call it.
Right.
It's about 400,000 people combined in the area. We're about 3 hours from Chicago, 3.5 from St. Louis, 3 from Madison, Wisconsin, and 3 from Des Moines. So kind of right in the middle, of the heart of the Midwest.
Thank you. I had a senior moment. Stephanie, did you have a question? There was a hand raised. Stephanie?
No, I didn't. I was trying to decline a call and it hit the hand raise.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. Right.
Okay, as far as the operators, go ahead, Tim.
Well, I was gonna add on with the winery and brewery tours out here in my area. I'm in Kansas City. For those that don't know, we do have a fair number of wineries, and one of the things that if you're going to offer that, when people book, you need to make sure that they have reservations to the wineries because of the limited capacity. All the wineries out here are requiring reservations. You can't just randomly show up because of the limited capacity. So that may be something that you want to help your clients when they do call for winery and brewery tours, that they have a reservation and don't get disappointed by showing up and being turned away, because that's frustrating and it's expensive and just, yeah.
Very good point.
Just to add to that point, I was just at some wineries the other day, and some of them were not accepting any limos or tour buses at this time because of capacity limits, and they want to make sure that they can adhere and be available to other smaller groups. So if you are going in with a bus, you are going in with a limo, make sure that the winery or the brewery or distillery or wherever you're going does accept larger groups, and that you're able to get there with your vehicles, as well as the party needs to make sure that they have a reservation as well. So just because they have a reservation doesn't mean you'll be able to get your vehicle there. So make sure that both parties are able to be in conjoint with what the rules and regulations are.
But a lot of that can be rectified by having a reservation too.
Yeah.
If you can't book a reservation for a group of 10, obviously they are not going to be able to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All great points.
Definitely. And I was going to say that too, because a lot of even though we're open in Iowa, a lot of us are at a 50% capacity. So yes, that would definitely be something in the booking process that we would need to make sure that they have their reservations set to these places. So nothing unforeseen, bless you. We don't have any unforeseen mishaps and that. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I did forget to mention that.
And also, I should mention, this is just because I happened to notice this with the last winery tour that I drove. If you're going to have a group of ladies, you might want to make them aware and prepared. Most of the wineries out here have shut off their restroom facilities. You can't even go in the tasting room. It's all outdoors, and they're using porta potties. Not really sure how a porta potty is more sanitary than a working washroom, but that's something that these groups probably need to be aware of, so that you can plan accordingly at convenience stores or restaurants.
That's a great point, especially with seniors.
For a lot of guys, using a porta potty is not that big of an issue, but I know for ladies, it's an inconvenience.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to what you said, and just touching base with that winery. We have a list of places that we work with, and talking to them and seeing what they're at. I was just at a wedding at one a few weeks back, limited to 125, and it was nice. Everything was open, but the rest of it was 50% capacity. So just making those connections with people and asking what what's changed, what's new since all this with COVID. So yeah, but we've
that approach right there is exactly what you should be doing with your customers. So Melody just hit it. She said you should be reaching out because you want to find out what changed, what's different. Your customers are thinking about that towards you. What's changed, what's different. You need to make sure that just like you're reaching out to find out what's available, what's working, where you're going, all of that. You need to be reaching out to your customers as well and communicating with them continuously.
This is Art with Panarelli. Has anybody given any thought to what markets are actually going to grow? It being in Chicago, I don't see business travel as being something that take place for a while. We have customers that travel regularly and have pulled all their rooms from downtown Chicago, and now they're staying in the suburbs. They're not going into the city. And I think that's going to continue for a while. I think it's important for us to maybe do a discovery of what markets we think are going to be markets that are going to grow, where there's going to be work for us, and what markets are going to be stagnant, so that we're marketing in the right direction. I agree with Maren with corporate shuttles. Shuttles are going to be positive. We're seeing customers that do have offices in downtown Chicago being told by management, when you do come back, avoid public transportation. Drive in, don't use public transportation, which I think will create opportunities for shuttles. Private aviation's moving, weddings are moving. smaller wedding, but we're seeing weddings every weekend. But other than that, with us, really, there's no wine tours in Chicago. And I think the city's deemed as an unsafe location. So I think there's a lot of obstacles that we need to overcome depending on what market we're in.
Well, if you're looking at Illinois, you're right. You've got to go down to some of the other counties there's a few wineries. And then Indiana is kind of the ones we've been looking at. But they have been restrictive, to everyone's point. So I did talk to Brian about it a little bit, and it's really important to follow up. But we're seeing the same thing you are. I mean, we're getting more quotes than normal for weddings, and we believe the downsizing of the weddings, the rescheduling challenges that people have had, they are shopping around. As I was sharing with Art last night, and a few other people, the one issue with the weddings that we're running into right now is if they want a bus, some are asking for us to be able to do last minute cancellation on a bus. And I struggle with that personally, because it's one thing to book, sedans and SUVs, and even to a lesser extent a van. But when I've asked one of you to put aside a motor coach or a minibus, I don't really think that it's going to work for us to say, sure, you can cancel 2 days before, because now I've asked you to commit. You're putting the vehicle aside. You've tied up a resource. You scheduled a driver. You name it. So I have been talking to some of the other folks that do a lot more bus work than I have, and some of them are coming up with, it's not refundable after so many days and this and that. I still have not really come up with a good solution yet, but that is a concern I'm personally having right now.
Does anyone know, and that's something I thought about as well, does anyone know of a company that offers event insurance that we might be able to point them in the direction to, that, hey, this is going to be the cost, it's $800, $900, $1,000, whatever it is. We're not going to be able to cancel it, but here's a company that you can go buy event insurance from, and it's a $50 or $75 policy or whatever it is, and if that event gets canceled, then they're able to go and tap into the event insurance policy. Is such a product, does such a product exist?
For weddings, I've heard for weddings, but I don't know about anything else. Antoinette, do you know if she's still here?
No, I'm here.
Yeah.
Rephrase the question. Sorry, I blanked for a moment.
Tim's asking about if there's any companies selling event insurance.
To the best of my knowledge, no. And when you think about
because there's insurance
in that
when you
industry.
buy, because there's insurance when you buy concert tickets. You can pay an extra $7 a concert ticket, and if you can't go for whatever reason, you get all your money back. And there's travel insurance for booking your vacation. If a hurricane cancels your vacation.
Oh, Tim, you went on mute.
You went on mute. Well, actually, it's not even on mute. He's
done now.
Is the mute button on? I'm looking.
So I know the NLA Virtual Summit, I think it was back in May when NLA had the Virtual Summit, and they had a wedding event planner as one of the panelists. And she definitely spoke about the event insurance for weddings and recommended it. She uses it as one of her selling points when she's setting up weddings, is to buy that insurance for that exact reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on a website right now, and I just Googled it, and there are a bunch of listings for event insurance, and one of them is event types we cover: weddings, concerts, sporting, party and social events, fundraisers, conventions or trade shows, miscellaneous. So yes, it absolutely exists.
Does it, just out of curiosity, does it list what kind of what the policy premium is?
No, I have to dig into it further, but I mean, the nice part about it is that it's a thing. I mean, it's a thing. I mean, it makes sense. Vacation rentals have them. Resorts have it for trip insurance. So I mean, it makes sense that there would be event insurance.
Yeah, I just didn't know if that was something that we that we could sit there and tell them, look, your $800 reservation, is non-refundable to us, but there is a product that you can buy. You're not going to be out $800 if for some reason it gets canceled. You're out $65
Right.
or whatever it happens to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We've kind of taken the opposite approach, where we're allowing them to change the date. We're not taking deposits, and we haven't seen people that are canceling 5 days, 3 days before, but we have seen people that have something 4 weeks out, and now they're changing it and moving it, or 6 weeks out, and just saying that we understand what they're going through, and we're willing to do whatever we need to do to make sure that, you know, it does go off well for them, and we don't just keep their money because it changed. I think has left a positive feeling for the people that are booking, because that's something they're not hearing from a lot of vendors, and it creates a positive, I don't know, positive environment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it isn't like we're oversold. It isn't like, you know.
No, it's not a problem.
To be honest with you, there actually have been a couple weekends recently where I have been oversold. And, you know, and I have had those people that have contacted within a week because the, you know, members of their party have come in contact with people who have tested positive for COVID, and now they're on quarantine, and therefore, you know, their group is shrunk and it's not going to be the same. And, you know, I have had that.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it the same way as somebody that's coming in and their flight gets canceled. I mean, if their flights get canceled, we don't charge them for the trip. I think it's a different time. And for me anyways, we need to be, you know, cognizant of what everyone's going through.
I think, Art, what you're saying and what I think is being projected is a warm fuzzy versus this is business.
Maybe, yeah.
For sure.
Which is a good thing in today's world, because people are feeling, need to be taken care of right now. They need to have a little nurturing and a little, you're okay. And that's why even looking on Facebook, the little care thing, you know, people need a little warmth in their life right now versus hardcore business, my way, the highway type thing. So I think that that's a positive.
I think it's just seeing the other side. Maybe I see the other side because I have a friend whose daughter's getting married, and, you know, the 250 person wedding turned into 50 people, and the money that she put down can't be refunded. And I mean, everybody's kind of like taking a hard stand on the deposits these people put on this event. And instead of leaving that vendor instead of addressing or dealing with that vendor in a positive format, you know, the whole thing's turned negative. And I could easily see how that same thing can happen for us. And I find the biggest benefit for booking too, that everybody might want to look at, is positive reviews. And Maren, you probably know more about this, but we basically, you know, we look for positive reviews on Google, and we get a lot of positive reviews, and we'll have people book with us because of the positive reviews, and sometimes they don't even read the reviews. They see 5 stars and they just book.
The stars, absolutely.
Yeah.
People can see, so if you have like a 2-star or even a 1.5 star, without even, and somebody only puts like, there's a five reviews total, they'll just see the stars and they won't even look further. You have 3.5, 4 stars. To your point, sometimes people won't even read the reviews to see what was good or bad about it. They just see it and they say, okay, that looks like a credible business to do work with. Those who have a perfect 5-star, yeah, absolutely. I think that reviews are extremely important. And actually, I forgot to even mention this. One of the most, I would say, looked over social networks that people just forget about because you don't collaborate the same way you would on like Instagram or Twitter or Facebook is Google My Business. I am constantly telling people, you need to have a Google My Business profile page set up for your business. It should have your logo, your service offerings. You can post COVID messages and updates on service changes. It's not the same where you would put warm, fuzzy pictures or, you know, like and share other people's things. It's not used the same way, but what it does do, and allows you to do a short link, and you can send out a quick link to people and ask them to leave a positive review on your business if they've already told you. Like if you have software that tells you like a rate my ride or rate my experience, and they give you a 5-star experience somewhere, you can ask them, hey, would you mind sharing that on Google as well, and give them a link right to your website. Or you can include it in your email communications. Did you enjoy your experience working with us? Leave us a review on Google with a link right to your Google My Business reviews. But Google uses that as a ranking factor. So they look at how relevant, how credible, and how many people utilize your business, review it as a credible business. And it is a very important metric. So please do not overlook that one. Even if you're only posting once a month an update on your service offerings or something brief that you're sharing or pushing, it is a really relevant platform that you should be connected to. And it also allows you to be on Google Maps, so that when someone does a map search or what have you, and it shows up the local pack of businesses near you, your business has an opportunity to trigger. If you're not in Google My Business, probably not in Google Maps, which means you're not going to show up in the local pack on Google's local search. It's very important you connect into that platform. If there's one platform that you all need to be on after this, it's that. Check to see if you have a Google My Business page.
Just to piggyback on what Art said, we had a few people that we had returned deposits back, but because the cases had went up in the southern region of the states, and we returned the funds back, but that also bought us more business. They bought us more retail business because they referred us to their friends that had a prom. We just did a prom maybe on the 31st. They referred us to that. They've been referring us to a lot of retail work in lieu of us returning those funds back. So, you just gotta figure out what's best for you and your business. But like you said, I would rather have good reviews than bad reviews.
I think you need to be the customer.
Absolutely.
You have to know what the customer wants and know how the customer feels and know the customer's situation and address their issues like you're in that same situation. And if you can do that, it's going to be a positive experience. And generally, positive experiences lead to more positive experiences.
Related to reviews, if someone leaves you a good or bad review on Google, especially on Google, you should be responding. Same thing with Facebook, you should be responding. So if someone says, hey, I loved your business, it's kind of like if somebody said to you in person, you look really nice today, and you just walked right past them like they didn't even exist, probably wouldn't leave a good impression with that person. Same thing would be someone gives you a compliment on your service online, you should say thank you back. Even if it's just, thanks, so glad you had a great experience. Short, sweet, and simple. Someone has a really horrible experience, do your best to be as professional as possible and get it offline. Try to get their contact information, find out what happened, and get it offline. But
excellent. Great information.
Something we learned is it's almost more important to address the negative reviews as it is the positive, because you're always going to have somebody that wants to complain about everything. They're just an unhappy person. And you're right. You're absolutely right. Just commenting, I'm sorry you had that experience. I will reach out to you personally to make sure we solve the problem. And then when you talk to them, ask them to take the review down. Once you've solved the problem, ask them to modify or take the review down.
How you handle a situation says as much about you as a positive review. And I know, Paula, you and I have talked about that before. People will actually choose to work with you and give you a call because they've seen how you've handled a situation online.
Oh yeah, we have a negative review from Yelp. It is probably 8 years old, and at least once or twice a year, a customer will call and they'll say, we saw that woman's comment, and we really liked your response, and we want to book with you. And I'm not kidding. I at that time did not even like responding, but our marketing person kicked me in the ass and said, you have every review we've got to answer. And that one is still pops up every once in a while, and I still get a comment. It's amazing. So I think it's partly humility. A lot of us don't want to do it. I think you have to. There's one operator that is in our group, and when he writes one, sometimes he'll say, can you look at it for me? Make sure I'm answering the issue. And we do that for each other, because you also want to make sure you're not getting defensive when you respond. especially on the negative ones. So if you need to run one by me, Tracy, Art, we're all, we all are competitors, but we've been down that road. So, feel free to share with each other. It's always great to get another opinion before you actually post the answer, because once you post the response, that's all they see. So, but don't be shy. It's your opportunity to put your company out there and show that you're service driven and all that good stuff.
All very good reminders. Chris Weiss, I wanted to give you the opportunity if you want to give an update, just anything that Chauffeur Driven is working on, and you announced that the show is going to be canceled in October, but what you're working on till the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the process of, we're working on a virtual event that we're going to hold in lieu of the face-to-face show. It may or may not be the same dates. We're looking at possibly pushing it back a few weeks as well. And we're looking at the technology platforms to, figure out what's going to be the best match for us. So stay tuned. We'll have all that information, obviously. On the magazine side, we're rebooting the magazine, and that'll be out probably in the next 2 weeks or so. And just been keeping up with our e-newsletter and our social media presence, doing a lot of the same things that were, discussed by Maren. And Maren, if you have any desire to be a contributor or columnist for Chauffeur Driven, this is my shameless plug.
Nice.
I appreciate that. That's very sweet of you. Thank you.
Yeah, let's chat. At some point.
Shameless plug. I love it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just
I think it'd be great, Mary.
Hunkering down. Certainly the vibes that we get is that, for the fall is going to be very lackluster, and we're just biding our time and trying to stay positive and doing what needs to be done to weather the storm. It's crazy.
I only wish that people could have been on our call with Maren and I planning this meeting. We've had 2 calls. The last one we were at 45 minutes, and that's all we were doing was talking about all the dynamics and what's going on and what we were doing in our company personally. But there's just a wealth of information out there, and I think that'd be great to publish, because there's so many people that I can talk to different people every day, and I'll say, hey, you should use this, or have you ever tried that? And they'll be like, oh no, and so the more we can all share, I think it's tremendous.
There's definitely strength in open discussions and sharing ideas.
No doubt.
I think we're nearing the 2-hour mark. So I think, Chris, this would be a great time for you to do your drawing for the $25 gift cards.
Can you see okay? You got your glasses on, so you should be able to do this. But I am going to be in a world of trouble. See, I'm not picking on Bill today.
Thinking this is from Nationwide Bus Sales, Midwest Transit, not just myself. Bill Battisti is part of our team also. He's on the call there, and then also Adam Kieran. So I just wanted to read the names that I have so far. If I miss your name, can someone just speak up and say so? So I got Guillermo, Vince Schneider, Antoinette, Tim, Melody, Julian, Bruce, and Markel. And I left the board of directors out. Did anybody get left out?
No, not. I'm looking. Give me a second.
Well, we'll put them in here.
No, we're good. Tim, did you say Tim? Did you say Tim? Did you put down? Okay, we're good.
Jake, want to pick? Jake, come out. Do I send Jake?
Hey. I see he's got your lighting better today too.
Yeah, finally.
He had it backwards yesterday. His camera was facing into the window.
Takes a kid to show you how. That's all I can say.
Markel for one of the $25 ones.
Hey, Markel.
And I'll give you my number, and or you give me yours, and I'll call you and get your address and send it directly to you. Second one, Guillermo.
Okay, yeah, Guillermo.
Nice.
He had to step off, but thank you.
All right.
I'll send you his
Thank
info.
you. Markel won't get that gift card because he just walked in the room. I've been here all the time. So I'll get the gift card.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
Markel,
you and
you're
I can-
out.
And you
I
and I
was
can go
sending
to
the
lunch on that
messages.
one. Yeah, no, Markel.
Thank you all.
Work.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Chris and Bill Battisti. Thank you for that.
Thank you all so much for having me today and listening to me talk a little bit about digital marketing with all of you. I appreciated the opportunity.
Absolutely. Excellent information, good reminders, and we definitely have the time now to put a lot of it into action. And so, and we'll be sending out, Paula will be sending out Marin's contact information as well as those 2 handouts. And like we said at the beginning, that this is recorded, so we can send it out to all of those that were not able to make it, but they did register.
Great.
So with that, we'll go ahead and end the meeting. And like probably in about 2 or 3 weeks, we'll do another Zoom just like this one, just to collaborate and share ideas, and just so that we can all stay in touch. So as business picks up, that we use each other and we don't have to say no to our customers when they do call last minute. So with that, everyone have a great day.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Have a
Thank you.
great day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Have a good day,
Sarah.
everyone.
Take care, everybody. Be safe.
Okay.